Hello again, tech lovers. Welcome to our educative lab video about the CCNA exam. In this lab, we will dive deeper into the exciting world of DHCP with L3 switches, SVIs, and DHCP relay agents. In this particular lab, we will focus on configuring a DHCP server using an L3 switch as a DHCP relay agent. Now you might be wondering why an L3 switch? Well, the L3 switch offers the advantage of allowing us to route packets within the LANs, VLANs, without involving a separate router. And actually, this will be a preparement for the following videos, which will include other things. Before we proceed, please note that VLAN addresses and related in this lab will be the same as the previous lab in this folder. With the exception of VLANs 30 and 40, which will not be used in this case. Now you will find that current lab is already finished, and again, to configure it yourself, simply erase the NVRAM and reload, just like we did in the previous lab. Here are a few tips to guide you through the configuration process. Firstly, remember to create the pools on the router with excluded addresses, which is again 1 to 10. Since we won't be using sub-interfaces on the router because of the L3 switch, you can assign an IP address to the main interface this time. For the connection between the L3 switch and the router, it is important to note that some Cisco switches use .1Q encapsulation and some of them use ISL by default. To be sure about the compatibility, make sure that the command switch port trunk encapsulation .1Q is used on the L3 switch before continuing with the setup. Don't forget to enable IP routing on the L3 switch so we can enable inter-VLAN and outside routing. Create SVIs, switch virtual interfaces for the related VLANs. And add the default router IP address from the pools that will be created on the router for the respective VLAN. To ensure that DHCP functionality, remember to add IP helper address on the VLAN interfaces, which is closest to the DHCP server. And lastly, for the switch router connection, assign the provided IP address, and don't forget to add no switch port, or else it will act like a switch port. And that's all tech lovers, so we can get started and explore the wonders of DHCP with L3 switches, SVIs, and DHCP relay agents all together. Okay, now I don't want to delete the L3 switch setups because this is just access ports, but I will delete the others. Router and the L3 switch. Erase the NVRAM and like we did before, and reload. Do the same for the L3 switch. Not okay. Now we can start with the router setup. Enable. As you can see, there's nothing. And no. Check this one also. Okay. So first, we will define the DHCP pools starting with the excluded addresses. IP excluded address, minimum and maximum 10.0.10.1, 10.0.10.10. Do the same for the VLAN 20. Okay. Now we will create the pools. My first pool P10. Network address. For VLAN 10, default router will be 01, 1001, 101. And for the P20, my address range and my default router will be 20.1. 20.1, yes. Now let's look at the setup. Exclude the addresses and the pools and the default router. So everything seems okay. One more thing here. In order to route the packets from one side to the other, we need to define some routes. First, I will add the IP address. 1.2 for the G02. But I will define it as /30 to save some address range. Looks like down, so no shutdown again. Now up. Okay. As I told you, we need to define some routing from this side to this side where VLAN 10 and 20 is, because they are in different address range. So we will define the routing table as first one for the VLAN 10, 10.0.10.0/20/24 with the prefix marks. And our next hop will be 190.168.1.1, the other one. 12 is our address, and the other one is the next hop address for the VLAN 10 and 20. Okay, so static routes are defined like this. Now we will continue with the L3 switch setup. Check the config first. Show running config. There's nothing. Good. Now first we will define G01 as trunk port. So switch port mode trunk. As you can see, it gives error, so we will use encapsulation command. Okay, select this. Then we will define load VLANs, which is 10 and 20 only this time. Then we will go to G02, which we will add the IP address, but first no switch port. And this is our IP address range /30. 255.255.255.252. Okay, let's check. Okay, it's up already. Now we can ping the router IP address. Fast forward, check. Okay, we can reach it. That's good. Now we will create the VLAN 10 and 20 switch virtual interfaces. We will add IP address as a default router for the VLAN 10 connected devices and points. And one thing, we need to add IP DHCP helper address. to get the it's not working. Forget the command, I guess. We need to add a helper address to reach to the DHCP server. Okay, it's here. IP helper address. So no, again, sorry. Did I see correct? Where did I see? Okay. IP. Okay, IP helper address, not DHCP. Okay, it's like that. 192.168. We'll write 1.2 because the next hop is needed to reach where the pools are. Okay, let's see. We have it. Let's check. We don't have yet. IP address, IP config, and slash new. Okay, we got it. Now check the other PC. Next. Failed. Good. Okay. Continue with the VLAN 20 setup. Okay, the IP address for the default router. Add the IP address for the default router, which is 10.20, 10.0.20.1. Prefix is /24. And we will add the helper address, which will again be the router's interface. Okay, now I'll try. Okay, we have it. Now we can ping the router interface. It's working. We can ping from here also, do some tests. We can reach to new IP address.